Hi everyone, my name is Tiffany. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share my favorites of the year so far. Now, I have about 14 in this stack and I want to cover them in the order that I read them. So let's get into it. This first one, I believe, was like my third or my fourth read of the year, and that is Manicole's Relentless Hunter. This is the last book in her Mafia War series, and since this is the last, I will refrain from getting granular, but the way that she systematically plots throughout the entire series for this book was skillfully done. This is a plate tectonic shifting romance that spans across decades, and it starts as this precious good girl, bad boy mashup with a heroine that refuses to settle for the man that her mother wants for her, and her giving Finn a shot, a man with a soul sickness of loss. He's mysterious, a bit dangerous, and more of a gentleman than the affluent man that treats her like a possession. And oh, I just love that they're meet cute red like kismet. They have this whirlwind oneness that is noted in the writing, and the event that separates them is absolutely tragic. And the journey back to each other just makes evident that Maggie Cole writes a seasoned love that ages like wine so well. I love all the sacrifices that he makes and how he levels everything in his path to get back to her, and the mental and physical anguish that Brenna endures and how he accepts that as a part of her when she makes it back into his arms. I cannot stress enough that it is worth it to get to this book. This had the kind of romance that makes me hope that it doesn't just exist on the page. I absolutely loved it. It was a great way to start my reading year out. So good. This one I'm gonna have to throw up, and I was able to read it thanks to Jen from the Book Refuge, my rec queen, because it wasn't on Amazon, and that is Damaged by Onley James. This is a novella in her Necessary Evil series that I'm absolutely obsessed with. This is about a family of psychopaths who are raised to add the moniker of vigilantes for justice to their inevitable serial killing. And this follows the son of a beloved member of their team and a romance that starts in the sandbox because Dimitri is like 5 when he sets flame to Arlo's parents after discovering bruises. Yeah. And now they're adults working together in a coffee shop, ignoring their history and mutually pining. And for romance reasons, they are forced to work together and confront those feelings. For Dimitri, it's his feelings or his yearn to protect and devour, and for Arlo, his need to be desired and cared for. I love all of the cameos that we get from our favorite characters and all the sneak peeks that we have for what's coming next. As always, I was living with this. I love that series. I'll never stop talking about it. This one I found through Jess from Peace Love Books during one of her wrap-ups, and that is The Red by Tiffany Reese. This is a whimsical and sexy peek into the art world. The Red is an art gallery that Mona is desperately trying to keep afloat because that was her mother's dying wish. But she's mounting in debt, or drowning rather in debt, and she's decided to sell. Until one day, like a freaking mirage, Malcolm steps into the gallery dripping in silver fox elegance and intrigue, stating that he's willing to save the Red in exchange for my favorite, carte blanche. I just love saying it. All access to her body for a year, and he's paying well in priceless art. I also like that he's very frank about his affinity for mind games and the crop, but he promises that she will leave their deal unscathed and richer. And one of my favorite things about this is that it reads like academic foreplay. There are chapters that are named after famous works of art, And the lengths that he goes to reenact these paintings is absolutely riveting. Go into this knowing that it has a fantastical edge and be prepared for incessant steam. I loved this. This next read, I'm gonna have to throw up. This took over my reading for 3 consecutive days. I could not put Manacle down, okay? The first day, I was trying to dole out chapters because this is a really long fanfic. And then I just decided to live my best bookish life and get lost in it. This is a Harry Potter meets Handmaid's Tale Hermione fanfic, where all of your beloved characters are dead, and it's set in a world crafted by Voldemort's sick and twisted machinations, with all of the wartime atrocities descriptively depicted on the page. And the magic in this absolutely amplifies the horrors of the Handmaid's Tale world, where we follow Hermione during her imprisonment and when she is placed in Draco Malfoy's home for the breeding program. And since her mind is fractured structurally, this is broken up into 3 parts where we get flashbacks that illuminate all that she's forgotten and their insatiable, hard-won, and arduous romance. This is a dark abyss of a situation where they are matured by the external conflicts of the wartime effort of opposing sides. It just took me out. And I'm pretty sure I shared this train of thought on Instagram because I really enjoyed how they're both very vigilant and stringent people with differing tactics based on how they've been nurtured. So when they fall into each other, they just freaking fit. And I was obsessed with the high stakes, all of the sacrifices, the magical quagmires, and the trauma. It just culminates into an HEA that I was able to settle into and watch mature, and they earned every second of it. Like, this is very dark, but it's so gratifying and it's compelling, even with the tenuous volley of trust that has to be laid between them before we can swoon. This is gonna be on a lot of lists for me, so just be prepared for that. I absolutely loved it, and I need to get it bound, like stat. This next read is Waiting for a Scot Like You by Ava Leigh. This is a grumpy sunshine, forced proximity road trip romance between a widowed heroine who's determined to wrestle everything that she can out of her newfound freedom and a Scottish war hero who is comforted by rules. I just love how as he escorts her on her journey, she ruffles his freaking feathers and slowly coaxes him out of his regimented way of being. I was obsessed with her mindset of living life to the fullest. It's really bewitching for him. He completely unravels. And I also enjoyed how what she's aiming to find at her destination is right next to her the entire time. I also enjoyed the ending. I think it's very fitting for her characterization and it forces him to grow. This was just delightful. This next one I got from Crystal, from Crystal's Bookish Life, and that is The Duchess Hunt by Lorraine Heath. And before I even get into what this is about, this had a quote that took me all the way out. He tells her, "You are the echo of my soul." And it's so fitting, succinct, while carrying this message of depth and weight to tell her that she's his essence reverberated back to him. Lorraine, I'm sorry. It's just so freaking fitting because she is his right-hand woman. She's made herself irreplaceable as his assistant, and she has really mirrored his mind and all of the tasks that keep his dukedom afloat. And so now she's been tasked with finding him a Duchess, which is like soul crushing because of course she's been pining for him and it's absolutely mutual. And that becomes amplified now that she has to like attend all the functions and the balls to help him with this. And I just love how his admiration for her character and her intellect is coupled with chemistry because he's finally seeing her as a woman and not simply an asset. And although the mystery plot in this does get a little out there in the third act, I love that the result is this far-reaching dedication of love. I absolutely loved this. This is one of 3 Lorraine Heaths that I have on this list. I just think her gut punches of swoons, heavy themes, and twists are icon status. So I love her. This next book is one of many that I've gleaned from Jen from the book Refuge, okay? And that is Burn For Me by Sarah Kate. This is a bully romance between a journalist, now college professor, and the boy that she destroyed with her expose that took down a human trafficking ring. The best day of her career was Cullen's worst day. As a child, he lost his father because his father was the head of that human trafficking ring. He lost his mother to suicide and was forced to live with an abusive uncle. And now fate has just dropped Everly into his lap because she's now his college professor and he's determined to make her pay for being the self-righteous catalyst to everything that went wrong in his life. And it's really her guilt that allows this to happen because she could get out of it, but she yearns to atone for the aftermath of her piece and for the fact that she never checked up on him. And so this is just dark, it's heady, and it's naughty with purpose. There's this like intimate vitriol between them that I love so much. She is the only thing that he has control over in his life, and he compulsively wields that control until he craves it. And she has this need to be the site of his anger, so much so that it begins to pose the question of whether this is coercion or not if she's a willing participant, and challenges him when his feelings essentially hands her the reins in this situation. Not to mention all of the practical reasons for why they can't be together. I loved this. This was a fun, heady unpacking, at least for me and my reading tastes. The next in this list is When the Duke Was Wicked by Lorraine Heath. This is the first book in The Gentlemen of St. James, which is about the children of the scoundrels of St. James that I absolutely devoured. And this follows, let me get his name here. I think it's Henry. I'm just seeing the Duke of Lovington. But he is drowning in grief after losing his wife and his child. And it's led to this drunken debauchery and him scoffing at the propriety that he once lived by. And because of his grief and his knowledge of what it is like to have found the one, Lady Grace seeks out his mentorship for her current season. She is determined to marry someone that truly loves her and will not settle for a fortune hunter. So who better to teach her discernment and vet her prospects. And I love how bold and audacious she is when it comes to getting him to agree, and how he unravels during these reluctant lessons, how they become this excuse for him to revel in her beauty and her mind, and how he's able to tell her what a man will do when he's in love because he in fact is falling for her. One aspect that I really gleaned from this and that I thought was clever is how Grace's resolve to not settle directly counters Henry's disbelief that he can ever give love again. And so it creates this like carnival of freaking angst and quenched longing that backs him into a corner. And I absolutely loved it. I love her. The next is in the same series, and that is The Duke and the Lady in Red. This assuaged my affinity for characters that inhabit the underbellies within society. Rose dons the mask of affluence, but she's a swindler that cashes in on the affections of men to survive and to provide for her family. And her meet cute with the Duke of Avondale is really like this mirroring of the minds where they both come out as each other's targets. Rose being Avondale's next conquest and Avondale being her next take, because he relentlessly pursues her. He's absolutely smitten, and I think he's hell-bent on figuring out why, which leads him to figuring out that she's a con artist. And he still feels compelled to lasso her into a negotiation. And I just love the reveal on why she's living this sacrificial life of grifting. It's heartwarming and it's heartbreaking. And I loved how his fear of all things love just sort of melts away as he's doting on her. And that really transforms him into a man that begins to appreciate the value of family. And he truly does become her respite where she can cease running despite how much she fights it. I loved her social prowess, how gone he is for her. And again, the beautiful reasons for why she's making these sacrifices. This was so good. The next book is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. This absolutely delivers on the comedy by way of modern language in a fantastical world. So if that bothers you, I wouldn't pick this up. But for me, I love how this book doesn't take itself too seriously. I think it allows for the commentary on a heavier theme of enslavement to be lighthearted. This follows a heroine who drunkenly breaks a curse on a demon, which leads to exposing the true power of like a false goddess that reigns over their land. And she is dragged onto a quest with Fallon, the demon that she saves. And this is like really about their reluctant romance of adventure and creatures and her vexing attraction to his dominance. I just loved their banter, the reveal on what kind of demon he is, and how fated mates works in this world. She's really just like a headstrong heroine that likes to top from the bottom. And I love that he just wants to care for her, protect her, and show her who's boss. This was really good. And I need more from her. I think there's only like 2 books out. My next read is a fantasy romance, and this is Entreat Me by Grace Draven. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and the way that the myth is handled is so unique and creative. It's really compelling, from the origin of the curse to the hard-won breaking of it. We get to follow a widowed and mature heroine who's tenacious and bold and outspoken. In fact, that's how she lands herself in the mystical home of the hero, because the son of the hero believes her sister could be the cure to the curse. And Lavaine, right? I hope I'm saying that right. Lavaine is determined to chaperone her sister as she's being courted by this mysterious suitor who just came out of nowhere. And the romance is between his father, Ballard, and Lavaine. And I just loved the banter between them, the growing chemistry and appreciation. I mean, she comes into his home and completely rocks the foundation of everything. She bulldozes her way past all of his guards of insecurity with these very overbearing acts of kindness. She's clever and she's clear about what she wants. And when it's revealed that she could possibly want him, they take the leap. And it's just so good. The way that they catch each other off guard and how that just might not be enough in the end. I absolutely loved this. This next read I found while watching Brie from In Love and Words, and that is Tangled Wires by Lillian Lark. This was a fascinating AI romance, and I remember while reading it, having the same questions that I have while I'm reading like serial killer romances, in that it explores whether or not non-organic beings are capable of love. This is set in a world of technology that has created medical marvels that could potentially lead to social horrors. And the heroine, you guys, I'm so bad. I just kind of want to see if I can get her name. Charlotte. Sorry, I remembered the hero's name. But the heroine, Charlotte, is the daughter of the founder of like the corporate giant that's leading in all of these technological advancements. And she's forced to work with who everyone else believes to be her brother, Matthew, but he's really her father's creation. And the relationship is contentious because her late father chose the artificial manifestation of everything that she isn't over her. And she's also struggling with her own affinity towards Matthew. She's so prickly and freaking guarded in order to mask all these confusing feelings. And he is like this stern alpha mellow. I loved the mutual pining. I loved his care and dominance. And the freaking twist is so creative and leaves no question to his capability of love. I was shooketh, gobsmacked, and I absolutely loved this. I need to read more from her. I haven't yet, but this is my reminder too, because this was really good. It surprised me. And the next read that I have on my list is A Scoundrel of Her Own by Stacey Reed. And the devotion in this book moved me, okay? Declan rescues Lady Ophelia when they're just children, and that imprinting moment leads him to vow to marry her when they are older. And it's just like the man that he fashions himself into in order to be good enough for her is like this living tribute. Sorry if I'm in a different spot, my camera died, but I know I was talking about the delicious Declan, and it's just like, it's incredible how he's able to amass a fortune that surpasses her father, who judged him for his station. And I love how he's active in socio-political spaces, how he takes care of everyone around him. And he even has this quest to make the privileges of the ton more accessible to children like himself. The steam between them has this like playful and explorative edge to it. And although the mystery plot that's centered around her birth mother fell flat for me, I like how it thrusts them together, okay? It gets Fifi enlightened about how devoted he is. So I loved Declan, and this was everything. My last and most recent read on this list is, of course, Headcase by Onley James. This is from her Necessary Evil series. And this is Asa's book. It's the first time he's been separated from his brother as the ongoing research of his father continues. In this one, he falls in love with Zane, who's a small-time crime blogger, and he is set on making the Mulvaney family his next big break story. But really what ends up happening is this sort of primal kinky captor-captive partnership and sleuthing type situation, where I think she delivers the best mystery plot of the series. It read like digital horror. It allows them to get to know each other along the way. The steam is hot and insatiable, and it eclipses Zane's morality long enough to get him on board. So I loved that. I can't wait for the next book. And that's the end of my stack. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to cover everything that I'm reading, so please sound off in the comments below. I don't know if I want to do weekly wrap-ups, mid-months, or monthly, but I want to thank you for joining me today and consider subscribing, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye.